राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यशो यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद अभय चरणारविंद भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी शिल प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 1, Text 28 and 29. Oh, board is not here. Hare Krishna. Sapashahastam strin drushtva Purushan atidarunan Vakratundan urdhvaromna Atmanam netumagatam Dure kridanakaskasaktam पुत्रं नारायणाभयं प्लावितेन स्वरैरोच्चैर् आजुहावाकुलेन्द्रियः सपाशहस्तां त्रीन् दृष्ट्वा पुरुषानतिदारुणान् वक्रतुण्डानूर्ध्वरोम्णा आत्मानं नेतुमागतान् दूरे क्रीडनकासक्तं पुत्रं नारायणाभयं प्लावितेन स्वरेणोच्चैर् आजुहावाकुलेन्द्रियः सपाशहस्तां स्त्रीन् दृष्ट्वा पुरुषानतिदारुणान् वक्रतुण्डान् ऊर्ध्वरोम्णा आत्मानं नेतुमागतान् दूरे क्रीडनकासक्तं पुत्रं नारायणाभयं प्लावितेन स्वरेणोच्चैर् आजुहावाकुलेन्द्रियः माताजी Saha, that person, Ajamil, Pashahastan, having ropes in their hands, Treen, three, Drushtva, seen, Purushan, persons, Atidarunan, very fearful in their features, Vakratrundan, with twisted faces, Urdhvaromnaha, with hair standing on the body, Atmanam, the self, Netum, to take away, Agatan, arrived, Dure, a short distance away, Kridanaka asaktam, engaged in his play, Putram, his child, Narayana Avayam, named Narayana, Plavitena, with tearful eyes, Swarena, with his voice, Uchchaihi, very loudly, Ajuhava, called, Akula Indriyaha, being full of anxiety. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanarinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Ajamil then saw three awkward persons with deformed bodily features, fierce, twisted faces, and hair standing erect on their bodies. With ropes in their hands, they had come to take him away to the abode of Yamraj. When he saw them, he was extremely bewildered And because of attachment to his child, who was playing a short distance away, Ajamil began to call him loudly by his name. Thus, with tears in his eyes, he somehow or other chanted the holy name of Narayan. Purport: a person who performs sinful activities performs them with his body, mind, and words. Therefore, three order carriers from Yamraj came to take Ajamil to Yamraja's abode. Fortunately, even though he was referring to his son, Ajamil chanted the four syllables of Harinam, Narayan, and therefore the order carriers of Narayan, the Vishnu Dutas, also immediately arrived there. Because Ajamil was extremely afraid of the ropes of Yamraj, he chanted the Lord's name with tearful eyes. Actually, however, he never meant to chant the holy name of Narayan, he meant to call his son. Om Adhyanatimidandhasya Dhyananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadam Vandeham Guruho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gauri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamam Hari Priye Vancha Tarubhyascha Krupa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktanda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, I first of all seek blessings of all the Vaishnavas present here. And I am not qualified, but just as some service and opportunity to purify my own heart by discussing something on Srimad Bhagavatam, I am trying to, I am doing this daring to speak something on this wonderful chapter. So, this particular verse is describing the dying moment of Ajamil. So every conditioned soul within this world has the experience of dying. They have died many times before and again taken birth. But because of Avaranatmika Shakti of the Lord, the living entity keeps on forgetting. Nonetheless, it is a fact that it is not the first time person is dying. Again and again, person comes, takes birth, and again he dies. So Ajamil he was a very sinful person. He led a very sinful life. And that's why we see that these Yamdutas, they came to take him to the abode of Yamraj. So we see that Yamdutas, they come only for sinful people and not for all people, not for devotees. Just like the police, they capture only criminals. They don't capture normal citizens. They capture only criminals and put them into prison, and they are subjected to prison laws. So similarly, Ajamil was also considered by Yamdutas to be one of such sinful personality, and that's why they came to take him. And this verse is also describing the awkward features of Yamdutas. This Atidarunan, very fearful in their features. Vakratundan, with twisted faces. Urdhva Romnaha, with their hair standing on the body, exact like that. So once late Srinathji Prabhu, he was once telling that he was admitted in ICU. And that time, when he was admitted, he saw just across the ICU door, he saw this type of people. And Prabhuji became little surprised and shocked. And he immediately picked up his bed bag in ICU and started chanting. But then eventually he saw that the person next to him, he passed away. And Prabhuji continued. So they had not come to take Prabhuji, but Prabhuji got to see. That's what he narrated. Similarly, His Holiness Navayogendra Swami Maharaj narrates one incident that some of our devotees, they were distributing this second chance book in one of the foreign countries. They are distributing the second chance book. And while distributing, one person, when they gave this book to him, he shouted very loudly. And devotee said, "What happened? Why are you shouting so loudly?" And there is a picture on the second chance book of these Yamdutas trying to take Ajamil's, and Vishnudutas trying to stop. And so he pointed at Yamdutas and he said that, "Who are these people?" And the devotee said, "These are Yamadutas. But why are you shouting?" He said, "I have seen them." And devotee said, How you saw them?" Then he also narrated his story that he had a near-death experience. He had suffered some terrible accident, and in that he was almost on the verge of death. And then he had seen three type of people who were about to take him, but somehow they cancelled their plan. And then he continued to live. That's what Maharaj says. So hopefully he took the book and became devotee later on. But we see that these descriptions are very true, and even the pictures drawn by our Vaishnava artists, they are also so true. The people who have experienced, they could immediately recognize that these people are there. They are existing in this world. So, seeing such fearsome Yamadutas, naturally, Ajamil became very, very afraid. He was very much in distressful situation. And in fearful situation, it is very natural. It's a natural psychology that person thinks of or calls the name of those people whom he is very attached to. Jai Shri Radha Vrindavan Chandra Bhagwan ki Jai, Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maiya ki Jai, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai. So Ajamil, he was very attached to his son, and that's why he called out the name of his son. His son's name was Narayan. So, and that's why he was calling the name Narayan very intensely. So we see that at the time of death, everything is so disordered. Third canto mentions about the situation of the person at the time of death, how there is, throat is being choked up, and the eyes are bulging out, the life hairs are disordered. So his throat is not in order. All his bodily parts are in disorder, and person, because of that, his mind also goes into disordered situation. And he is not able to, even though he wants to speak something, he cannot speak something properly. So that's why we know that this Kulashekar, King Kulashekar, he chants this beautiful verse which Prabhupada would repeat often times. Krishna Tvadiya Pada Pankaja Panjarantam Adyaiva me Vishatu Manasa Rajahamsa Prana Prayana Samaye Kafavata Pittair Kantavarodhana Vidho Smaranam Kutaste. So he's saying that, oh Lord, currently I am very healthy and my mind is in proper position. So better let me die right now and better you take me away right now. Because at the time of death, when the throat will be choked and when everything will be in disorder, how will I be able to remember you? How will I be able to chant your holy names? So better you take me right now. So nonetheless, we see that this is the law, that it is said, the law of last thought, that whatever one is attached throughout one's life, whatever activities one has done throughout one's life, the prominent attachment, that is what becomes the object of remembrance of a person at the time of death. So that's why, it is very good to practice and become attached to chanting holy names of the Lord, because if one become attached to the holy names of the Lord, then naturally what will happen? At the time of death, one will remember the holy names of the Lord. So, His Holiness Mahavishnu Goswami Maharaj, there is a very nice quality of his was that he always attended Mangalarti. Wherever he was, whatever time position he was, he would always attend Mangalarti. So his disciples say that when he was admitted in Bhaktivedanta hospital in his last days, as soon as there would be 4:30, he would start clapping. And he was in a he was just about to leave his body in a very painful situation apparently, but he would start clapping 4:30 morning. And there would be, of course, naturally, internally he must be singing Mangalarti. So that's what, he became, throughout life he chanted, throughout life he sang Mangalarti, and that's what even at the last stage of his life, he was singing Mangalarti. And Ajamil, we see that throughout, Ajamil had also become very attached to his son, last son. In Marathi we call Shendefar. He was the last son, and he was the object of full affection of Ajamil, and that's how he remembered his son Narayan. So that's why it is said that this Bengali there is saying that bhajan kara sadhan kara marte janle hoy. So whatever devotional service, whatever sadhana one does, that will be tested at the time of death. Life is the preparation and death is the examination. So we see that the life of Ajamil, is very, very special, and this is very, very special pastime from Srimad Bhagavatam. People in these days, they are looking for something hope-giving in their life. They want something to, hear some hopeful, hope-giving statements or pastimes. So Ajamil's pastime is most hope-giving. Why? Because we see that Ajamil's life was, he was devotee in the beginning of his life, but later on he fell down. He associated with the prostitute, and he committed all types of sinful activities, whatever one can think of or one cannot even think of. But the Ajamil's, although he had lost his good character, and then he began to maintain prostitute, and then he started cheating, stealing, all these things, but then everything happened by the mistake or account of his young age probably, and that's why he became captivated by a prostitute. So certainly, although Ajamil was the devotee in the beginning, and by committing this sinful activity, his progress in spiritual life was stopped, checked. At the same time, but he had not willingly got into sinful life. He had not purposefully got into sinful life, and that's why Krishna was giving him opportunity. Krishna wanted to give him opportunity. So that's why Krishna was thinking that as soon as possible, again capture him. That's what Krishna was thinking. So why? Because Ajamil's fall down was circumstantial. That's why Krishna was very kind, and he wanted to give him opportunity. So Krishna was thinking that, all right, you are very attached to your child, Narayan, so let you chant, let your son be named as Narayan, and keep on repeating his names, keep on calling your son again and again. And in this way, you'll get opportunity to chant the holy name of the Lord, chant the holy names. Nonetheless, certainly Ajamil had led a very sinful life, and that's why he had to see Yamdutas. That is also a fact, that he had to see Yamdutas. Somebody who is very pure, who has practiced devotional service throughout his very life very nicely, and he has not committed sinful activities, such a person, he never has to see Yamdutas also. He will be always, free from their sight. But Ajamil had performed some sinful activities, and as a result of that, he had to take darshan of Yamdutas. But nonetheless, another side is also true. Because of Krishna's kindness upon his devotee, Ajamil was again given chance, although he was fallen. So although Ajamil had forgotten Krishna, but Krishna had not forgotten Ajamil. This is what is Krishna's kindness upon his devotees. So Krishna gave conscience to Ajamil to keep his son's name as Narayan. Of course, there is one more pastime which comes wherein some sage comes to the house of Ajamil and he gives the son's name as Narayan. In whatever way, this way or that way, but it was ultimately Krishna's arrangement to bring back Ajamil to Krishna consciousness. And for that, Krishna inspired within Ajamil to keep his son's name as Narayan. And in this way, so that Ajamil will be attached to his son and keep on indirectly chanting the holy names of the Lord. Indirectly, he will keep on saying Narayan, 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 Narayan. And in this way, out of affection for the son, although unknowingly, unintentionally, indirectly, Ajamil was always chanting the names of Lord. So this is the merciful nature of the Lord, especially to his devotee, that sometimes the devotee, he may forget the Lord, but the Lord never forgets his devotees. And Lord is always looking for opportunity to bring his devotee back into his devotional service and give him more and more opportunities to progress in spiritual life. So this is how the Lord is so very kind upon his devotees. So this verse from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Nehavi kramana shosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpamapi asya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. This so wonderfully applies to Ajamil, isn't it? He had performed some devotional service in the beginning of his life, and that devotional service helped him in the most crucial time of his life, in the most critical time of his life. That devotional service was the thing which came to his benefit. And at the same time, we see that the Lord, he made such a wonderful arrangement for Ajamil to come back also. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. My devotee never perishes, my devotee never vanquishes. And that's what Krishna proved. Although Ajamil had given up devotional practices, but Krishna made sure that he will come back. So His Grace Radheshyam Prabhu was once telling the story of one devotee, the disciple of Srila Prabhupada. So he assisted Prabhupada in building very crucial temples in India. He had built this Vrindavan temple. He was the main person who was instrumental in building this Vrindavan temple. And the just one day before, when the temple construction was done and the temple was going to be opened, so just the day before, Srila Prabhupada told him, now go to Juhu and construct temple there. And he told Prabhupada that, okay, yes, Prabhupada, I'll accept this. So tomorrow is the inauguration, tomorrow is the opening of the temple, so I'll attend the function and then go. Prabhupada said, no, right now you go. So although he had worked so hard, built a temple and all that, he was not there for the opening ceremony of Krishna Balram temple. And he had gone to Juhu. And then he was instrumental in opening the temple in Juhu also. And this way, he performed tremendous service for Srila Prabhupada. But somehow or other, after Prabhupada disappeared from this planet, this Prabhu, he could not continue his devotional service and he went astray. And then he somehow other he took some business, and eventually he became very, very powerful businessman. He became very, very accomplished businessman, earned lakhs and lakhs of dollars, and he was very, very affluent, very rich. But one day, his business partner observed, and he said to him that I have been observing you. Although you have so much money and all types of things, what one person aspires in material life in this world, you have everything of that, but I see you are not so happy. You don't look so happy in your life. What is the reason? And then this Prabhu, he was also thinking, yeah, that's the fact actually. I am not so happy also. So I also don't know what is the reason. These years later, when he had become quite old now. So then his business partner told his business partner, I don't know what to do. I agree what you say that I am not so happy despite having everything. What to do? And then business partner told him, you go back to your roots. You see where you got great happiness in your life, where you got great joy, and what was your best moments of your life. And you go back there, you will find happiness. And somehow this Prabhu took it very seriously, and he was thinking about his life, which were the best moments of life. And he remembered his moments with Srila Prabhupada, his moments in Krishna consciousness, in devotional service, how he used to do whole day, service for Prabhupada, how he used to chant and dance ecstatically, and how they used to take darshan, and so many wonderful things he did for Prabhupada. And he remembered that these were the best days, and I was most happy in those days. After that, I was not so happy, but these were the most happy days of my life. And that's how he decided to come back to Vrindavan. And when he came to Vrindavan, all devotees gave him grand welcome. And there was some 40th anniversary or something of Krishna Balaram temple. So that time they told him to speak about his experiences of Krishna Balaram temple and his dealings with Srila Prabhupada and all that. And he spoke hours and hours and hours. And after some years, he got some disease. And in Vrindavan temple, surrounded by devotees, chanting the holy names, he very happily left this body. So in this way, we see that, it is Krishna is so kind, so merciful on his devotees, that even though they may go astray here and there, but Krishna doesn't leave them. Krishna always brings back his devotees. That is the glory of Krishna. So, in this case of Ajamil, we see that similar thing Krishna did. Krishna also helped Ajamil to chant his holy names indirectly, in a different way. Of course, some commentators, they say that Ajamil, because he chanted very intensely, his all sinful reactions were eradicated. And he remembered actually Lord Narayan. That's what commentators say. And Srila Vishwanath Thakur, he has given a big purport, big thing about this particular pastime. Some Prabhupada says that some 3-4 page purport, he has given. And he says that because Ajamil chanted at the last moment holy names of the Lord, he immediately remembered Lord Narayan. So he was thinking, Ajamil, he said that this child Narayan, I am calling my son. How he'll be able to save me from the hands of Yamdutas? So he remembered Narayan, Supreme Lord Narayan. If he kindly helps me, then I can be saved. And in this way, he remembered Supreme Lord Narayan. So although this Ajamil, out of his foolishness, he was attached to the material body of his son, but because of this chanting the holy name of Narayan, Krishna was taking the essence. The essence of him was, he was somehow or other chanting the name of Narayan. And Krishna was taking that essence, and that's how this Vishnu Dutas also appeared to take Ajamil. So that's why this is the glory of holy names is simply marvelous. That we know there are various verses which will come ahead also. Sanketyam parihasam va, even if somebody is, jokingly chanting holy names or just indicating something, like people sometimes, devotees go on Harina, people say, oh, these are Hare Krishnas. So they are indirectly chanting, they are just indicating. Sometimes they want to tease, sometimes they want to criticize. In whatever way one chants the holy name of the Lord, the person is benefited. Nonetheless, that's a fact, and that's the great causeless mercy of the Lord on everyone. So, this is the importance of chanting holy names of the Lord. So, this Ajamil is the great example. And in this way, if devotees, as we discussed, that if we practice, Krishna will, if we practice chanting the holy names, it is Krishna who will surely save the devotees from the danger. And in this way, devotees will be always protected by Krishna. So Ajamil didn't chant with devotion. He was calling his son. But nonetheless, he performed some devotional act, although he had no devotion within himself. So this is another wonderful thing about devotional service, that although person like Ajamil, he did not chant with devotion, he simply performed a devotional act, still Vishnu Dutas appeared and he got the benefit of devotional act. So Ajamil was not qualified as a pure devotee, but still Vishnu Dutas came to save him. The next verse it will come. And the only qualification of Ajamil was that he was not offensive towards the Lord. Although he was very, very sinful, but he was not offensive towards the Lord. So that's how the chanting of the holy names is the most merciful form of the Lord, is the highest benediction of the Supreme Lord towards the conditioned souls of this age, especially of this age. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is that merciful incarnation of the Lord. Of course, as yesterday Gaurang Prabhu was telling, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not incarnation. He is Sakshat, directly Krishna himself, Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna himself. So Krishna, in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he always stressed so much on performance of Harinam Sankirtan and chanting the holy names of the Lord. So while talking to Prakashananda Saraswati, this comes in the Chaitanya Charitamrut, Adi Leela 7.73, 74 verses. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling to Prakashananda Saraswati that my spiritual master considered me to be a fool. And that's why he told me, you don't have adhikar to study Vedanta, better you chant the holy names of the Lord always. And that's why I'm taking the instruction of my spiritual master, and that's why I'm engaged into chanting holy names. And that time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he recites these verses. Krishna matra haite have samsara mochana, Krishna nama haite pave Krishnera charana. Simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna, one can obtain freedom from material existence. Indeed, simply by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, one will be able to see the lotus feet of the Lord. Nama vinu kali kale nahi ara dharma, sarva mantra sara nama, ei shastra marma. In this age of Kali, there is no religious principle other than chanting of the holy name, which is the essence of all Vedic hymns. This is the purport of all the scriptures. So especially chanting of the holy names is very much the only way in Kali Yuga. So one lecture, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, he was telling that it is not that chanting of the holy name is effective only in Kali Yuga. In all previous ages also chanting of the holy name was there and it was very effective. The power of the holy name has been always present. But in the previous ages, people thought that this is too simple. What is this simply vibrating Hare Krishna Mahamantra? I can do Brik Tapasya. I can fast for many, many years. I can give huge amounts of charity. I can perform a lot of yajnas. So what is this chanting? In this way, they could not take chanting to be very seriously. Another thing, in Kali Yuga, Maharaj says that in Kali Yuga, the advantage is that there are so many miseries. In previous ages, there were no miseries. The miseries were very less, very minimal. And that's why people were people did not have that kind of, intensity. But whereas in Kali Yuga, there are so many miseries. Always there is some problem or other going on. There are so many wars happening. There is famines and floods, and there are interpersonal relationship problems. In this way, there are so many quarrels. There are lots and lots of miseries, and that is what can give impetus to the people of Kali Yuga to chant the holy names of the Lord with great sincerity and great eagerness. So we see here Ajamil, one of his good thing about him was Ajuhava Akulendriyaha. He chanted very loudly and he chanted in great anxiety, and that's how he was very intensely chanting the holy names. So generally, when person has everything going on very nice around, when everything is very good, then there is no impetus to chant very intensely. So Kunti Maharani also says, no? One who is intoxicated by this Janma, Aishwarya, Shuta, Shribi, they cannot feelingly call out the holy name of the Lord. But Maharaj was telling that advantage in Kali Yuga is that because there are so many miseries, it can give us a very good impetus that, because the problems in this world keep on coming, one problem comes, it goes, by the time it goes, another problem comes. At every moment, there is some problem or other going on in person's life. So it can give a very good impetus, for the people in Kali Yuga to take to the holy names, chanting of the holy names very sincerely, because this is the only solution. In this material world, there may be different solutions, but they cannot give a permanent benefit. But when one chants very sincerely, when one chants very intensely, when one takes shelter of the Lord through this chanting holy names, that can give us the real solace, and that can give us the real shelter for every living entity. And that's what is a benefit of Kali Yuga. And that's why we see that Parikshit Maharaj also, although he saw that Kali Yuga is a very bad age, Kalo dosha nidhe rajan, as Shukadeva Goswami also says, that asti eko mahan gunaha, kirtana deva krishnasya mukta sangha param vrajet. So Kali Yuga is ocean of faults, but there is one good quality, that simply by chanting the holy names of the Lord, one can attain all perfection in his life. And as Maharaj is saying, that these miseries are like helping to take shelter of the holy names more and more sincerely, more and more intensely. And of course, how can we complete, the talking about the chanting of the holy names without mentioning Haridas Thakur, who is Namacharya. So Haridas Thakur, he was always chanting and very sincerely chanting the holy names of the Lord with great love and devotion. And because of that, he had become so famous also. But then we know this pastime of Ramchandra Khan. He sent one prostitute, who was a very, very beautiful prostitute, the most beautiful prostitute of the town. He sent her to make Haridas Thakur fall down. So his prostitute came, and then she offered obeisances to Haridas Thakur, she offered obeisances to Tulasi, and then, she requested Haridas Thakur that I want to unite with you. You are such handsome person, so let us enjoy. And Haridas Thakur told her, just wait. I will accept your proposal, but I have not completed my chanting. My chanting is still remaining. So let me complete my chanting. And when the chanting is done, then I will fulfill your desire. And in this way, this prostitute, whose name was Lakshahira, she just sat there and listened to the holy name of the Lord being chanted by the great devotee Haridas Thakur. Prostitute again had no intention. She had not come for a satsang program with Haridas Thakur. She had come to make Haridas Thakur, in fact, she had come with evil motivations. She had no intention to hear holy names from him. But still, nonetheless, unintentionally, she just sat there and heard holy names from Haridas Thakur for 3 nights. And then at the end of that, this prostitute was also delivered. And she became a pure devotee of the Lord. And she herself became a great devotee of holy names and continued to chant holy names 192 rounds herself. So in this way, we see that the glories of holy names are so enormous. So many people in this world, we see that they are being benefited by this chanting of the holy names of the Lord. And in fact, so many scriptural examples are there, quotes are there, which propagate the holy glories of the holy names of the Lord, which tell us about the importance of the holy names of the Lord. So even in Sri Sampradaya, this one Acharya is there, whose name is Namalwar. So he has written something called as Tiruvaimoli. So there is one verse, here it comes, it is in Dravida language, so I don't know whether I can, but first 3 words are Poliga, Poliga, Poliga. He says, Poitru, Vallu Yirka Chabam. Oh, very difficult, this is Tamil verse. So whatever, but the translation will read, what he says is, all glories to the devotees of the Lord. All the inauspiciousness and curses of living entities are destroyed. No one is going to hell. Yamaraj has no work anymore. And the ill effects of Kali Yuga have ceased to exist. I behold something wonderful. All over the world, an increasing number of devotees of Kadavallan, bluish black complexioned Lord Krishna, sing his names while dancing and playing musical instruments. So this is the prediction given by Namalwar. So Namalwar appeared something 30 days after advent of Kali Yuga, when Kali Yuga started. That means he came 5,000 years ago. But even 5,000 years ago, Namalwar, he predicted that this chanting of the holy names of the Lord will propagated all over the world in Kali Yuga, and in this way all effects of Kali Yuga will be neutralized, bad effects of Kali Yuga, and in this way there will be so many devotees chanting the holy names of the Lord all over the world. So this is the prediction done by Namalwar, and we know that this is indicating also the appearance of Srila Prabhupada, who came, and he was the one who took actually this chanting of the holy name all over the world. He propagated chanting of the holy names. Prabhupada, we know, when he went with Jaladuta, he had only two things, with him. One was his faith in the chanting of the holy names of the Lord and in the instructions of spiritual master. And second possession he had was Srimad Bhagavatam. With just this much, Srila Prabhupada went to West and he preached, to the people. Srila Prabhupada so many times used to say that I have started this movement, international movement, simply by chanting the holy names of the Lord. This movement has been started simply by the chanting of the holy names. So Prabhupada, spread this chanting of the holy names of Krishna, this Hare Krishna Mahamantra everywhere, all over the world. And in this way, he delivered so many ajamilas and so many prostitute-like people, isn't it? People were, almost, on the same lines, committing all types of sinful activities. But Srila Prabhupada very, very mercifully, he traveled, he worked so hard, struggled so many times, and went, in his advanced age, he traveled each and every part of the world. 14 times we know, right? 11 years. He traveled to various parts of the world and he distributed these holy names of Lord. So this is how Srila Prabhupada is that great personality who is the great devotee of the holy names of the Lord. And because of that, these holy names of the Lord are being sung today in each and every part of the world. Wherever we go, all will see that there are devotees who are chanting holy names. And this way, as there is a prediction also that there will be, for 10,000 years, this movement will go on, and there will be, the effects of Kali Yuga will reduce, and this is a golden age wherein there will be, mass chanting of the holy names. Chanting of the holy names will spread everywhere. And then, as Namalwar is predicting, that Yamdutas, Yamraj and associates, Yamdutas, they'll have no work to perform. They will be out of work. Probably they will also join in the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. So we stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Same.
Legs will touch the head like
this. Namalwar is only telling further verses.
In this verse, Prabhupada ने लिखा कि he meant to chant the name of not the Narayan. The previous verse में Prabhupada ने लिखा है कि